The Anno 117 limited demo recently released, previewing a November launch for the full game. And as somebody with many enjoyable hours in Anno 1800, the opportunity to see how the sequel stacks up was all too tempting. I'm Forrester, and this gameplay video is a bit of a long play of the Latium region of the demo. Long play is perhaps an exaggeration, as the demo is limited to 1 hour of actual play, but this video is that. To keep the overall length of the video down, some of the footage has been sped up, and that which has is clearly marked as such, but otherwise this is the full hour, so please enjoy as we head to Latium. And so this playthrough starts by selecting New Game, selecting the Latium province and waiting for the game to load. I will enjoy the cutscene at the start and share it here, but feel free to skip in the timestamps below if you need to.
So, you wish to be a Roman governor? Congratulations! The Emperor himself has deemed you worthy to take charge of these lands. Once struck by disaster, they're now ready for new leadership. Your leadership. Your story begins here, on a humble island with azure shores. Latium. Whether you dream of a bustling trade empire or conquest-driven dominion, success is never guaranteed. No two cities will ever be the same, as every choice you make shapes your city in your image. Govern well, and the Emperor will sing your praises. Govern poorly, and, well, the consequences won't be pleasant. Every decision you make will shape your legacy. So, how does one become a good governor? Let's find out.
So for this actual gameplay run through, I have actually superimposed that cutscene on, just because I didn't want to lose it, but also time in the cutscene runs across the timer for the game, so didn't want to lose any time at all in actually building here. You can see the timer on the top bar, which is 58 minutes and running down. It may also not have escaped your notice that this is a super widescreen or ultra widescreen playthrough. Recently picked up a G9 OLED, and this kind of game, Anno 117, Anno 1800, is fantastic on ultra widescreen. Really makes use of that space. So hopefully that's something that comes through on a YouTube medium and you can appreciate it. If not, please let me know in the comments and I'll stick to the more usual resolutions going forward. The first steps of setting up is getting the lumber camps up and running, getting some timber, which will be vital for construction. I'm planning to build this settlement out in a little bit of a grid fashion. I'm not always a big fan of grids as a way of doing things, but as I understand it, the Romans were, and so it seems fitting to try and emulate a little bit of that for this Romanesque playthrough. So setting up these lumber camps, and then it will be a case of trying to build out a grid-like city to start with here. Got a nice little island, there's plenty of wood and timber, plenty of space to grow. So at this point I've unlocked the ability to fish for some sardines and build some farms and some processing plants. I don't know what the right word is for a processing plant in Anno 117, but some places where I can build some porridge, which the workers will be very happy to eat. And at 56 minutes and 46 seconds and counting down, I'm starting to realise that actually perhaps I need to have a little bit more space in this grid. Usually try to keep some roads going in the cardinal directions, but I'm thinking actually perhaps I need a slightly wider road for the main thoroughfare running through the town centre. I don't pretend to be an expert in any kind of city construction, albeit I have got plenty of time in previous Anno games, but I'm thinking by having some extra room, it will just make the thing look very, very obviously a main road. Whereas if I've just got little roads everywhere, you might not be able to tell quite so easily what's a main road and what isn't. So I'm moving things out a little bit to accommodate for that. And I'm trying to plan out the roads a little bit as well. And I'm leaving spaces so that I can build little squares. And these little squares will house whatever we need to. It could house 4 little dwellings for our workers, or it could be any of the buildings that we need by just changing the size of the square to match in with the grid. In Anno 1800, my preferred was a 2x3 housing block, but I'm changing it up a little bit for Anno 117 and seeing how it goes. A little bit of an experiment, as it were. So as with most of the gameplay, actual Let's Play type videos on this channel, I try to find a balance between giving a bit of a commentary of what's going on, but also, I guess, sitting back a little bit and letting you enjoy the actual gameplay itself. So hopefully, I'm striking a little bit of a balance there. I guess, again, you can let me know in the comments if you feel that balance is right. And at this point, I'm starting to plan out where all of the roads are going to be, get things ready, and we've also encountered our first other settlement. This is Latium, who seems friendly enough, so we'll extend a polite greeting. So there's not too much going on yet, and already more than 5 minutes into the limited 60-hour gameplay. So 60 hours, 60-minute gameplay, 1 hour. So I'm already, I guess, falling behind some of my ambitions. I would love to get as much built out as I could do using this hour. And here, just experimenting, I like nice squares or rectangles for farms and things like that. So just trying to find a good combination that lets me build out a nice little rectangle. There we go, that looks nice and neat. And these will be oats for porridge. As with other Anno games, the different levels of your population all have different wants and needs in terms of food, amenities, luxury goods, clothing, and the likes. And so part of the fun of the game, if that's the right word, depending on your own proclivities, is working out your supply chain so that you can supply all of the necessary things to all of your citizens. The complication lies in that some things need certain fertilities or areas to grow, they need certain workers to man the different plants, and sometimes you will need to account for the fact that they produce at different rates. So it's a little bit of a spreadsheet game. I really like that, I really enjoy that, and I think it looks great as well, so I'm quite happy to get into the spreadsheet simulator, although I appreciate that might not be for everyone. So my little square housing area is going alright. We've got plenty of houses that's keeping up with the demand I've got for workers, and have now unlocked the ability to build a market and a tavern, which will help provide some much needed amenities to our citizens. And I'll speed it up to ×4 speed just while I work out my placement for different roads and things like that. Just kind of speed things up a little bit. And I'm just working out what's going where. Planning is absolutely key. And there we have got some more buildings able to build. I'm just waiting for the timber to stack up a little bit to catch up with my demand. I've got a few of these that are placed down as blueprints at the moment, so this market isn't constructed, but the blueprint is there, ready to go as soon as I've got the timber to build it. And likewise, I've got some houses that are also blueprinted, ready to be built once I've got a little bit more timber. Met another rival, so I'll extend a nice, polite greeting once again. And there we now have a tavern and a market. What more could you want in a little fledgling Roman village? And I've also unlocked the ability to build production chains for tunics and for fancy little Roman hats, which should keep the population happy. Who doesn't love a nice hat? So once again, speeding up a little bit. For my tunics, I need some flax, or hemp, I should say. I think it's hemp for this. Maybe flax for something else. And then for the hats, it's very simply sheep and wool. Little woolen hats. So I set up my production area and have a warehouse nearby to let people drop things off and then start building out some more little housing blocks. So I'm very glad that I laid out a rough working area for this. And now I've upgraded my first houses to the plebeian level, which is the tier 2 of citizens. This unlocks some additional building materials. In this case, it's going to be some nice clay tiles to throw on the roof. So for that, I'm going to need some clay pits, some little factories for those tiles, and some charcoal kilns as well. Now, one of the other neat features introduced in Anno 17 versus 1800 is the ability to build diagonal roads and buildings. And that lets some very, very different shapes compared to what might be used to from regular players of 1800. So I'm quite enjoying that feature, that flexibility. And so these charcoal pits need to be in forests. I guess they're going to burn a load of trees, but it's Anno 1800, no, it's Anno 117, so pollution isn't really a concern almost 2,000 years ago. At least it's more of a local concern than a global concern. And ultimately, I need this to build out my Roman settlement. Otherwise the Emperor is not going to be happy with me. And so I'm keeping a lot of this industry away from the actual town itself, so that I can focus on keeping the important things near the town, and I guess keeping the air clear of all of the pollution that comes from burning charcoal. Now unlocked some extra sets as well, including a nice villa for the governor. That would be nice to find somewhere good to put it. And this seems like it'll be a nice spot, but I'm going to respect the grid. I'm going to respect my city grid. So what I'm going to do is just work out by placing another 4 houses where the grid is going to extend to. And then I use that space to place the villa. Now I don't mind losing a little bit of space for this. I've got a few tiles there that aren't used by the villa, but given that it is the governor's villa, it seems only fitting. There is plenty of space, maybe some small gardens. I think the governor would probably live somewhere quite fancy. And at this point, I can also put in some facilities. So there's a city watch for basically fire, unrest, and health. So I'll be mixing those out to keep the city relatively safe. They're still quite expensive buildings for being quite early in to the plebeian tier, so I'm quite happy to place them down as and when I can. And I'm exploring as well. I've got this little flagship that is floating around and identifying new islands. Of course, much like previous Anno 1800 games, colonizing islands for the Empire is of critical importance. So I'm always on the lookout for islands with nice levels of fertility or nice resources. That might be a next logical step.
Our scouts have sighted new land.
Have you need of us?
So we'll head back and construct that nice governor's villa. Very fancy. So my priority for this plebeian tier has been getting up and running with some tile production. I can see that that's kicked off now. I'm not producing any of the food and goods yet, so I'm now going to start planning to produce some bread and some pottery of some description I guess is going to keep people happy. Now these wheat fields are absolutely huge, great big fields compared to some of the other farms, so lots of space needed. But that's fine, I've still got plenty of space on this island to spare. So as well as the wheat fields, I'm going to need a grain mill and then the actual bakeries themselves. This is one of those where they produce at different rates. So one grain mill can effectively handle 2 wheat fields worth of gear. So I'm doing exactly that, placing down 2 wheat fields so that I can run the mill at full capacity, and that way I'm not wasting production. This is one where I'm comfortable to have it a little bit closer to the rest of the settlement. I think a nice little river mill looks good.
Our scouts have sighted new land. There is a shortage of workforce in one of your cities.
And then I've placed down the bakeries, and that's pushed me slightly under my capacity for plebeian workforce. So upgrade a few more buildings to some nicer villas, and then carry on exploring the world. I'm having a look at all of these different islands that I've found to see if there's anything that I really particularly want to settle. I'm looking in particular at the different fertilities involved. I know that these plebeians, as they develop, are going to be very keen on having some lavender, some olives, and some resin to do all the things they want to do. So an island that has some or all of that will be fantastic. So at this point I'll speed up the footage a little bit, placing some more roads down, getting some more factories down, and now I've unlocked the Grammaticus, which I guess is like a public library or school or something, a centre of knowledge, which unlocks research, which is going to be very important, and I've also unlocked religion, a nice temple to the Roman gods. So this research and religion is a little bit more detailed than existed in Anno 1800. In 1800 it was very simply you build stuff to unlock tiers and that unlocks the next stuff. This is a little different in that you actually have got these little trees that are needed. And actually I probably only need the one Grammaticus, and then on the next one I can build a sanctuary to get access to the religion. A nice little temple there. I'm going to choose Ceres as the patron. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, but I'm not a Roman. And I'm also in trouble because I have spent all of my funds. I am in the red. I'm okay with that. Once again, because this is a short session, only 38 minutes remain. I've only got 60 minutes here. I'm okay to run into the red for a little bit because, frankly, what's the Emperor going to do if I run into the red for half an hour? But also, in fact, this is what the Emperor's going to do. He's going to lose a little bit of reputation and bail me out, which I'm very happy with. Another 20,000 funds. I would much rather invest to grow faster so that I can get more out of this hour, even if that means that I'm a little bit in the red and not quite so favoured by the Emperor. I'm looking to build as much as I can do with my 1 hour of demo time. At this point, I'm also setting some sales on my trading post. So all of the excess goods that I've got can be picked up by some of my compatriots as they float around, and hopefully that brings in a little bit of extra money too. And I'm also completing some quests using my ship to help out some of my neighbours, again in the hopes of earning a little bit of funds.
Fleet of ships for goods transportation and patrol of the seas.
Still, poor girl's got her hands full at the moment. She'll help her out.
And now the day-night cycle is starting to kick in. I can see the fires burning in this little Roman settlement, and I've unlocked sandals and soap. Both things that would keep many a Roman happy, I'm sure.
A decision, your judiciousness.
Yeah, I managed to get
Will tell.
a nice person that can help boost and buff the city, which I'm very happy with. And they just get placed into the villa,
Has broken out.
the old governor's villa.
So,
So it's going to make that one warehouse marginally more effective. It's not amazing, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't cost me anything. That's the main thing. Now I can see here that there is a ship for sale, which is quite tempting actually. I think I could definitely do with another ship now that I've started to complete quests and I'm looking to find another island, and at the same time I'm trying to do lots of things at once. Perhaps having another ship wouldn't be the worst thing. Decision for later, perhaps. And speaking of ships, it means I can also build my own shipyard where I can start to develop my own ships. There is of course an industry and a workforce requirement attached to that, which I'll need to manage, and I can start to make my way through to the shipyard and be able to do that. I'm also starting my Roman wall. I know that many Roman settlements were surrounded by a wall to keep things safe, and so I'm thinking actually it might be time to start building my own. It's just a palisade wall, a small wooden wall, and it is certainly expensive, so it's going to take a while to construct, but with half of the session already gone, I'm thinking perhaps now is the time to at least make a start. And at the same time, do a little bit of building out some more houses and keep moving this town forward as I've unlocked the next set on the Plebeian tier. So now I've built out a road to another set of coastline, which will be useful for getting some more industry going, starting to make some sandals to keep those Romans happy. To do that, I'm going to need pig farms. Pig farms are a little bit on the smelly side, so keeping them away from the main town means that the smell stays away from everybody and they're a little bit happier with me. And of course, keeping that away from everybody is going to improve the happiness, but it's going to create a challenge for keeping those risk-free from fires or even some riots. But that's a problem for later. Right now I need pigs so I can build a tannery and make some nice sandals.
We watch, we wait. Today, you are not among masters and dominates, but among friends and companions.
So the next in the quest line is some choices for me, and I'm going to do the honourable thing and be a gracious guest. And as a reward for that, I've got a nice little patron who will sail on my ship.
What are your secrets of luscious hair? It is going to be so nice. Your secret.
And at this point, there's an interesting potential delivery quest there, which I think I might even have the stuff for. So I'm going to pick that quest up, head back home, and see if I can complete that. Also have a second quest here. They're ramping up these quests, keeping my ships busy, I suppose. Now at this point, to deal with some of the unrest, it might not be the worst thing to build a Custodia and also some Vigiles to help protect against fire. Fire is an ongoing potential risk for this city. Specifically, do not want any fires within the walls because that could spread like, well, fire, I suppose. And so most of this area within what I think will be the city wall boundaries is starting to get built out. Don't have too many spaces left, so that bodes pretty well with 27 minutes of game time remaining. And here I found the shipwreck, which is necessary for my next quest. And I'm going to do what the people want and destroy what they think is a ghost ship or something like that. And I'll bring back the bits to prove that it's been done. And there I can see ships starting to trade with me, which is excellent because that's going to help with my income and a few different funds.
Trading posts can now be upgraded.
I'm also going to pick up the goods that I've accepted for the other quests, and I've produced all these myself, so the cost is minimal.
An idea for a new routine.
And I can just load the right number aboard and then sail down with them for a nice little payout.
Under attack.
Now, one of the downsides of ultra-wide screen is sometimes it's easy to miss these notifications. So in this case, I am being offered a bribe, which would be very tempting to take some funds to help. And I've also had a nice note there from the Emperor, who's very happy, and an offer for a trade treaty, which will certainly help boost the coffers. A nice festival, that's good news. And some gifts from my neighbours, gifts very generous, which will be gratefully received. I now have a very healthy fund situation, a positive balance and a positive income. That's certainly going to help things move along as we progress our little town. So at this point I am going to build out the hemp farms to build some ropes and some sails so that I can start crafting some basic ships. And now that I'm rich, thanks to my neighbours randomly gifting me some cash, I'm going to buy that second boat and I will sail around while I'm doing quests with the first. And at this point, I think I've found a nice island. It's got lavender fertility, olive fertility, and resin, which are all the things that I think my plebeians might need. So I'm going to build a trading post. And unlike Anno 1800, I don't need any resources for doing that. All I need is the funds to actually make it happen, which means that I can just plonk it down with a ship in range, and that is sufficient. Of course, then I'll need to get some production chains up and running for getting some timber. I can do some transfers from my home island, but timber isn't something that I'm particularly abundant for because that home island is using it to grow. So getting a timber supply up and running here is going to help me to get a second island up and running. Do a little bit more research. And things are looking good on this main island. So I think it's almost time to start doing a little bit of decorating. So I'm exploring some of the different decorations that are available and really just celebrating a little bit of beauty, making these main thoroughfares a little bit more obvious to the citizens that are going to be walking through. So you've got those nice cardinal directions as we go through. And just exploring some of the nice decorations that are available. Enjoying watching that festival that's happening as well. Everybody's happy at the moment, it seems. And then I'll load some goods up to send over to the new fledgling island. As much timber as I can spare, and a full load of tiles, which is going to simplify things because I'm not going to need to get tile production up and running there. I can just use the main island tiles for now. And this has turned into a busy little town with 17 minutes of playtime remaining on this demo. Actually, it's looking busy. It's looking like a nice little town.
Awaiting your command.
And so I think it's time to start developing this second island. Now I've got a bit of timber there, and I've got some tiles if they're needed to start planning out some simple areas. I do not need this one to be as complicated as the main island, for the simple reason that with 15 minutes of game time remaining, I know that I'm not going to have that much longer to be able to do anything with it. So I'm happy to go a little bit more casual and just get something that kind of works.
We watch, we wait.
And through the glory of my shipyard and the ship that I bought, I now have 2 ships available, which I'm actually going to send over to a neighbour and try and sell up. I think getting a little bit more funding at this point would be more than welcome. So for this second island, just keeping things simple. Nice little small village centre type area with some amenities, a nice tavern, a nice market for buying some goods, and of course I want some fish to eat. I'll start growing some oats and making some porridge for them too. Again, we'll keep the citizens happy, give them what they want. And then we'll do some more upgrades on the main island, try and keep things moving forward. Some more plebeians in. And the villas look a little bit nicer with the upgrades as well, which always helps. And then we'll get some more timber production going on Island 2, because we've got some more building out to do down here, and we can't be reliant on a timber supply from the main island, plus there are plenty of trees here. Would I like to accept a benevolent loan? No, I don't think so. Not this time.
As painful as it appears,
Now I've got a little bit of civil unrest going on in the main city. I'm sure that's fine. These ships hadn't actually gone to sell, so I can send them back down now. And just under 12 minutes of game time remaining, so the ticking clock is ticking.
They're all out there, waiting on your wisdom. So you do.
And the Emperor has offered me some additional funds, which again, I'm happy to take. And I'll use it to do some more decorating around the city. That seems like a good use of the Emperor's kindness. But this is all, of course, for the glory of Rome, so I'm sure the Emperor doesn't mind. Some repairs to do from some earlier civil unrest, and so an extra custodia probably wouldn't go amiss. And then on island number 2 can start growing out some lavender farms. This is something that I know I'm going to need for building out my soap supply chain on the main island, and so getting a little bit of lavender growing. Who doesn't like to see those nice purple flowers? Whilst we're in the process of gathering things, we'll get some little resin farms going. Don't know what the right term is for a resin farm. It's called a resin tapper in game. And I am going to need a small number of plebeians here to help me with this, but I'll also get some nice olive farms going. My thought process here is that what I'm going to do is I'm going to produce the raw goods here, and then send the raw goods for processing on the main island, so I don't have to worry about maintaining lots of different workforces. I can keep things simple, produce the simplest of goods that often only require the basic tier, and then I'll process those goods on the main island, so I can keep everything a bit more concentrated there.
Dripping with oil, licking me teeth with the bones.
And of course, to do that, I am going to need some nice tunics for people to wear. People want to wear their tunics. And of course, as with any good Roman, they'll also want to wear their hats. So there are now only 7 minutes of game time remaining. I've managed to build out my production chains. I've got some dependencies that are now getting flushed out on this second island, which will help with dealing with some of the shortages I've got on island number 1. And so I'm just trying to get as much done with this remaining time as possible. I'm going to sell these extra ships, get a little bit more income, just so that I don't have to be bailed out by the Emperor yet again. That gives me a nice little extra balance. And then just doing as much as I can to build out the last of this main settlement. It's looking quite good, I think. Got a few little decorations going on, got some buildings upgraded.
Decision, your judiciousness.
Another choice. Certainly don't know if I want to be paying 10,000 denarii. I think a pardon is the simplest option. And with just 5 minutes of the 60-minute playthrough remaining, just trying to get as much done as possible, get that island looking good, so that I can be proud of what we've accomplished in Latium in this Anno 117 demo. And now that I've got my production up and running on my second island, what I'm going to do is set up my first trade route. This allows for some automation in moving goods from one to the other. The UI has changed a little bit from what I'm used to, so just getting used to what that looks like in Anno 117, but I know that I'm going to want lavender, I'm going to want resin, and I'm going to want some olives. And I'm going to load them up on Island 1 and unload them on Island 2. A very simple trade route for this first one. A little bit more research to be done. And now we have 3.5 minutes of game time remaining. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to set the time of day to being noon, just so that I can enjoy this little town in the light of day. Speed things up this final bit just to try and get things done. I've got a clear idea of where the little town walls are going to be. And actually, for this 1 hour playthrough, I'm pretty pleased with this. We've got a shipyard, we've got production chains up and running, got some nice farms, got a good way through the plebeian tier, ships are visiting all the time to buy and sell goods, I've got my own trade route set up. And that's a nice little fortified town, I would say. And a few more upgrades and only 1.5 minutes of this game time remaining. So in my mind, that's time just to enjoy how things are looking, how things are shaping up. And of course, Anno has some great cinematic modes to do just that. I hope you enjoy. With 40 seconds left to go, try and do some more upgrades. Do a little cinematic around the second island, which is mostly just farmland, but looks quite nice still. And then as the last 15 seconds pan down, I'll leave you with a cinematic of the main island and prepare to head into the ending cinematic for the demo.
So, whether your first steps led you to the sun-soaked shores of Latium or the misty wilds of Albion, your rule has begun. You've chosen your path, guided by Roman discipline or shaped by a new respect for the unfamiliar. But for now, Governor, your journey pauses. Your people await your return, and on November 13th, 2025, your story continues in Anno 117 Pax Romana.
If you enjoyed this video, you might press the like button to let me know I should make more Anno 117 videos when the time comes, and if you're not yet subscribed, given that you got this far, you might like to do that too, so that YouTube will show you more videos like this in future. But otherwise, and as always, thank you for watching.